Thank you everybody for joining us today for how to host a webinar, town hall, and large event with Microsoft Teams, brought to you by Red River. We are here with our expert, Microsoft expert, Brian Charles, actually Microsoft Design Architect, here to kind of go over the best practices, how-tos of really messing with Microsoft Teams live event. Throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A question tab on your top right. With that, Brian, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Gary. As Gary mentioned, my name is Brian Charles. I am a design architect for Red River. And basically what I do is I talk with customers such as yourselves on the phone. I figure out some of the pain points inside their environment, and I try to maximize some of the things that they have in order to show them about some features and functions, capabilities that they may not know that they have. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about why we're doing remote meetings. I think that's pretty obvious. Talk about how you can get Microsoft Teams. Do a little bit of a differentiation between what's a Teams meeting versus a Teams live event. We're going to have a demo where I'm going to actually get inside of it and show you what it's all about. And then go over any questions that, as Gary mentioned, you guys can post into the chat. So I'm not going to belabor this point too much. We all know what's going on. 2020 has been a very interesting year. A lot of organizations went ahead and they got the notification that we're all going to be moving into a remote workforce. And a lot of that is actually starting to kick back up. So this time around, we're a little bit more prepared than we were last time. And what this is doing is causing a lot of organizations to rethink how they handle these sort of things. And even though we did have some return to work strategies, a lot of people are adopting the remote work as a permanent thing that's going to be around for a while and going, well, it's work anywhere. You can do what you can inside the office, you can do what you can outside the office, but the features, functionality, and interfaces that our users are working is going to be the same no matter where they are. And we've seen this major uptick kind of reflecting this sort of information. So back in July in 2019, there were 13 million Teams daily active users. And this is a little bit different than the metrics that like Zoom or some of the others do. This is individual users, so not just Teams sessions. We're up to 115, probably more now, daily individual users of Microsoft Teams. So when we were all sent home, people very quickly pivoted to using these utilities, Zoom, Teams, things like that, so that they could still stay in touch with their coworkers, get their work done, and try not to, as much as possible, skip a beat when it comes to work. So how do we get Microsoft Teams? And the answer is you probably already have it. So Microsoft Teams is included in almost any Microsoft or Office 365 license that you have. And this, you'll get the full Teams meeting experience when you have this. So you'll be able to schedule meetings, have people, internal, external, join those meetings and conduct those. Now, if you're a larger organization, you have an enterprise plan, you actually have a Teams live events as well. And what we are using right now to conduct this meeting is a Teams live event. We didn't pay anything extra for it. It just came as part of the subscription licensing that we have. And it's a feature that we're able to utilize in order to address an audience of people from a group or of presenters. Now, when I say you have the ability to run those Teams meetings without any additional licensing, what you have, there is one feature capability that is standard missing, and that is what they call audio conferencing. Now, the difference between audio conferencing and a standard meeting license is if you use the standard Teams meeting license, you will be able to do the meetings, but people will only be able to join from a Teams application or browser. So they can't pick up their cell phones, dial into the meeting, and that sort of thing. So if you want to be able to dial into a Teams meeting from a landline, you will need what's called the audio conferencing license, which is typically a $4 a month add-on, but Microsoft is running a promotion that from now until March 31st, if you have a qualifying Teams license or Microsoft 365 license, you can actually get 12 months of that audio conferencing add-on for free. So reach out to you if you have an EA with Microsoft or you have a cloud solution provider that you currently work with. We will be able to provision new licenses for you. You will get the ability for landlines to dial in, and it's not going to cost anything extra. And this is, again, going back to consolidating tools. And you already have this feature-rich platform, so why not use it to its fullest inside of your organization? So what's the difference between a Teams meeting and a Teams live event? Well, in Teams meeting, you have the standard experience that we're all very familiar with at this point. You have, it's a group of people, you have a couple of different permission levels, so you can have presenters and attendees. Inside of Teams, it defaults to everyone is the same, and you have to go in and change it. And now you have a maximum of 350 participants. Now, this is up from what some people may know. Earlier in the year, it was 250. Around May, June timeframe, they upped it to 300. And now, as of December 15th, so this week, it is now up to 350 participants are allowed to join a standard Teams meeting without any additional licensing. And there's an asterisk on that, not only because the amount of users that you're allowed to join a Teams meeting has been fluctuating and changing, but Microsoft is in 2021 coming out with another license for Teams meetings that will allow you to have up to 1,000 participants inside of a Teams meeting, but that will be an additional cost there. So a Teams live event, it is one or a group of presenters and producers to many. And you do not need a license if you've set it up appropriately to view inside of a Teams live event. You could do it through a browser and that sort of thing. There's also 3 different permission levels that you have there. You have a producer, which Gary's producing this meeting today. You have a presenter like myself, and you have attendees. Now, this natively supports up to 10,000 attendees. And Microsoft right now, because of COVID and because of remote work, actually has that limitation set to 20,000. So when you do a live event, you can have 20,000 attendees joining for no additional cost or setup. And if you needed more than 20,000, there's a Microsoft helpline that you can reach out to so that they can help you get up to 100,000 attendees inside of your live events. There's flexible options for producing the event. So Teams has an encoder built inside of it that will stream the content from that meeting over to a browser so that people can utilize it. Or you can use bring your own video encoder. So there's lots of marketing teams that have already invested into gear to be able to do these live events, and they don't want to necessarily throw it all away because they're using Teams live events. Well, you have the ability to bring those encoders into a Teams meeting and distribute that out to everyone watching. Now, the one thing, if you're using the team that's different between, or not one thing, one major thing that's different between Teams meeting and Teams live event is where you can get a full feature-rich experience for Teams meetings, whether you're using a desktop application, a mobile application, or a browser. You can only produce and present from a Teams live event from a desktop computer. So you won't be able to produce from your iPad or from a browser if you don't have a machine. So let me get into a little bit of a demo. I'm going to show a little bit about Teams meetings, and then we're going to go into Teams live events. Now, some people may say, oh, well, I don't have a, hang on, let me just log in here real quick. I don't have a enterprise plan, and that's just unfortunate. I wish I had Teams live events, but you actually do have the capability to do a presentation to many people using a standard Teams meeting with some of the new features that just came out. So we're inside of our Teams meetings. We all know how to start a meeting. You can click you go to calendar, you click it, you hit new meeting, that sort of thing. It's a experience that we've been doing for a while. You can also do it from Outlook and there. One of the things that you may not know about is after you've created a Teams meeting, if you double click the meeting, you can click on this option up at top called Meeting Options. Inside the meeting options, it's going to go ahead, open up a browser, go to your calendar, and there's additional settings that you could set about that meeting. For example, who can bypass the lobby, always let callers bypass, announce when they're joining leave, and then changing who can present. And this is going to change the permissions and settings for that meeting to make it so I just want to have attendees, they're not going to be presenting. And here's a new feature right here, allow attendees to unmute. So if you wanted to have an experience similar to what we're having today, where people can come see the content that's being presented to the meeting, but they're not going to be overriding the presenters and things like that, you have the ability to say attendees aren't allowed to unmute themselves. They're only allowed to be inside of these meetings. So I'm going to switch over to this meeting right here that I already have running. And if you hadn't set those settings up beforehand, inside the meeting when it is live and you realize, oh, I forgot to make those settings, put the settings the way I wanted, you can come into the ellipses at the top, click on your meeting options, and you can get those same settings that we saw in the browser after the meeting is already running and there's participants inside the meeting. So if I wanted to do various things like make Natasha a attendee instead of a presenter, I could just do that as well and send her down. Now, here's a brand new feature that came out inside of Teams meetings that I just wanted to briefly go over that can enhance the experience that you have when you're dealing with a larger group of individuals inside of your meetings, and that is breakout sessions. And breakout sessions is a brand new feature inside of Microsoft Teams. And over in the navigation bar, you'll see a larger square with a smaller square inside of it. If you click on breakout sessions, you'll be able to say how many rooms do you need and how would you like to assign participants. So automatically, it's just going to take however many participants that you have and just randomly throw them into the meetings, and manually will allow you to select which breakout sessions those attendees are a part of. So I'm going to go ahead and create the rooms for this breakout session here. Once I see the breakout sessions, I'm inside of the parent meeting, so we're all talking and communicating together. And you have the ability to expand it, see the people who are inside or will be inside that meeting once I start this meeting room. I also have the ability to afterwards create a new room if I wanted to, add it in. And if you click on the ellipses, you have rename room, delete room, other settings like that. I can also grab users and say, hey, I want you to be in room 2 when we start our breakout sessions, and move your users around to make sure that they're collaborating with the coworkers that are the best for them. When you go ahead and hit start rooms, it's going to open up those rooms, and then it can transfer those users into those breakout sessions. And as the moderator of this meeting and the organizer of the meeting, I have the ability to go in and out of the rooms, follow along in the presentations that they're giving themselves. And you'll notice here that they're automatically leaving. And now no one's in the primary meeting that I'm in. And these users, I will see, are inside of that meeting, the breakout sessions that I have. And as I mentioned, I have the ability to join the room if I wanted to skip in and get with Natasha so that we're now collaborating in this room. And then if I want to come back to my other room, I have the ability to do that. Once we are completed with the rooms, we can hit close the rooms. It'll close all the rooms and bring everyone back into the primary meeting. So breakout sessions, again, a brand new feature. It is very, I think it's going to be very useful. There's lots of town halls and stuff that we do today over here at Red River that does require these breakout rooms, but we were never able to do that before inside of Teams meetings. I could also see this becoming very, very useful if you're in the education space and you're a teacher that wants to have some quick huddle rooms with your students. Being able to create those breakout rooms on the fly is incredibly handy. So I'm going to leave the Teams meeting experience now, and we're going to show you how you create a live event. So creating a live event is very similar to creating a Teams meeting, except instead of just clicking on your calendar, what you're going to do is at the top on the right, you'll see a down arrow. You click the down arrow and you'll select live event. Name your event, and you can invite different presenters to that meeting as well. So if I want to go ahead and invite Natasha and Bruce, bring them into the meeting as I can just invite them like I would if it was a standard meeting. Inside of the event itself, you have the ability to change them from a presenter or a producer. And again, a producer can produce the meeting where a presenter can only add content into the meeting. You select your time, hit next, and then you'll get some additional options. So who do you want to be able to view this meeting? Specific people and groups, everyone inside my organization, which is going to require everyone to sign in, or make this one public. Now, your tenant permissions and settings may be dictating this. So if your admins have said, we will not be allowing to share with external environments, you might see options here that are grayed out. I'm going to go ahead and select public, and then you can choose what sort of resources that you want inside the meeting. Is the recording going to be done automatically? Is it going to be available to attendees? Do I want captions to be able to be put in here? And attendee engagement, so I can see how many people are inside that, how many attendees are there, and then Q&A. Now you notice down here, an external app or device. This is the capability, what I was talking about before, to bring your own encoder into those meetings. And if you want to bring your own encoder into the meetings today, for now in this default page, you're going to have to make it org-wide. Making it public will make that external app or device option for you grayed out. There are ways to get external coders into a public meeting, which we're not going to go over today, but I will show you how to bring an external coder into a org-wide meeting. Once I've selected the settings that I want, I can go ahead and hit schedule. And it's going to think for just a minute. And it's going to give me an attendee link. Now, it's very important that you do not forward this invitation out, because this is the presenter/producer link. If I forward this event out and your attendees start clicking this, they'll all start joining the meeting as producers, which will be incredibly, presenters rather, which will be very disruptive to the meeting as a whole. So select the Get Attendee link, create a different calendar invite, or put it on a splash page that you have for the event, and send that information out. I'm going to go ahead and join this test event, and it is going to give me some information here. I'm just going to say join. And I'm joining as a producer. Now inside the producer view, you have a queue and you have the live event. Inside the queue, I have the ability to add information from below. Currently, there's only one thing being sent inside of the environment. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want to add in the video. There's actually, sorry, let me take a step back. There's two different views. There's just pure content, and then there's the video and content. So you can send that up. I can also go ahead and share some information here. So if I wanted to share the desktop, for example, there would be an additional piece of content that I can go ahead and bring inside the meeting. Now, what you'll notice inside the meeting here is at the top left, you have the information about the event, how long it's been, how many attendees are currently viewing, and we are in what's called pre-live mode. It is going to be in pre-live mode. And sorry, there's no microphone, so it's not going to give me a certain settings and functionality. So in pre-live, no one is going to be able to see or hear anything that's inside of it. One of the important things that you have to note is that all the presenters and the producers, if their microphone is not muted, that information is going to be directly inside of the live event. So presenters and producers are going to have to control their own mutes to make sure that they're not talking over top of each other. If you're in a scenario where there is another presenter who's conducting the meeting and you need to chat with them, at the top right, you'll have the chat functionality. Now, this chat is internal only to producers and to presenters. So you can communicate back and forth and be able to give each other information without disrupting everyone inside the meeting, and the people that are attending aren't going to see that information either. If you want to, we selected there's a Q&A, and this is how you can garner that feedback from your from the audience. And again, the chat and the Q&A are two different things. So that's basically when you're ready to send this live. When you hit the send line button, which again is grayed out for me because I don't have any audio content or anything inside the meeting. Once you send it live, that is when the attendees of the meeting will start seeing the information that is in the section on the right. Now, you can join and leave and join and leave a Teams live event as many times as you want, as long as you haven't started sending this information live to all the attendees and starting the actual event. Once you send this information to the attendees and you leave the meeting and shut it down, you won't be able to join that event again, and you're going to have to recreate it. So if you wanted to log in, do some mic checks, make sure all the cameras working, make sure everyone had what they needed, do everything up to the point before you go ahead and make this live for everybody. All right. So the last thing I wanted to go over today, and then I'll just go ahead and take a look to see if there was any questions, is bringing an external encoder into a Teams live event. So over here, I've got another browser that's in private session. Let me go ahead and tell Bruce to get out of this meeting. So you can, again, we showed you from the calendar inside of Teams, you can go ahead and create a live event. But with Bruce, I'm inside of a browser. When you're inside of a browser, you're not going to be able to join as a producer or anything like that. But my external coder is going to go ahead and help me with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually launch a completely different application inside the Microsoft apps called Stream. Let me go ahead and find it real quick. So I'm going to go launch Stream. And if you don't know much about Stream, Stream is basically like a corporate YouTube of where you can bring information and have video content to disperse among everyone inside the environment. So at the top of Stream, I'm going to go ahead and create, and I'm going to hit Live Event. So my default video language, I'm going to hit Save, and it sets this up. I'll set a name. Test event, and this is the splash page that users are going to see while they're waiting for the content to actually get sent into it. You can add a description, upload any thumbnails that you want, and start the event at a specific time and date, or as soon as an encoder is connected. So I'm going to put as soon as an encoder is connected. Let me go ahead and just be like, put this information as well so it stops barking at me. Underneath the permissions, you're going to choose who's allowed to see this. So whether it's just specific viewers, whether it's everybody inside the organization, or so on and so forth. And underneath of options, you're going to allow people to comment on this, auto-generate captions, which is a very nice feature. So if there's people who are in a scenario where they can't have the audio on, they'll be able to read what the presenters are setting. And I'll go ahead and hit publish. Once you've hit publish, you'll notice that at the bottom, there is some additional information. So we have some coders that can automatically be pushed up into a Microsoft Stream without any additional setup. And if you don't have one of these, you can just go ahead and configure it manually. And once I click on the Start Setup, you'll notice down here, I have a server ingest URL. Now, what I've done is I've downloaded a free encoder off the internet called OBS. And again, this is just a free one. I cannot guarantee that it is going to work for you. This is just one that I use sometimes for recording purposes. Inside of OBS, I'm going to go inside of the settings and click on Stream. Now, this server ingest URL, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it inside the server. And for my stream key, I'm going to grab all the encrypted information after live, and I'm going to paste it in here and apply. So now inside of my encoder, I can click Start Streaming. It's going to go ahead and start sending the information up into Microsoft Stream. Now this is going to take a little bit of time. Sometimes this can take between 15 and 20 seconds before the information from my desktop encoder is sending it directly into the cloud. But this is how you're able to get in, quickly set up the ability to have an external encoder. You'll see some of the information or some of the settings are in there, and have additional settings and features that you wouldn't have had inside of a Teams live event. Again, one of the things that's really nice about these external encoders is you have different scenes, different inputs and things like that, and you're able to really produce these meetings to make it exactly what your organization is looking for. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to see if there were any questions or anything that showed up and answer those.
Brian, thank you so much. Yeah, we did have a few questions come in, around about 6 different questions. So I'm going to just go down them real quick. Can you have external presenters in a live event?
Yes, you can. If you are producing, and you have to think about, are you going to be producing this live event through Stream with the external encoder, or are you going to be using Teams? If you're using Teams, you can have external producers, and we do that all the time when we have vendors who want to join us as well and that sort of thing.
Okay, perfect. The second question, is there a limit on how many people can join a live event?
Just a moment. I think there's something a little bit wrong with your audio, unless that is me. Is my audio okay, Gary?
Let me double check. Let me get my microphone.
I apologize for that. I'll go ahead and click over there and see if I can read them through. At least on my end, Gary's sounding a little bit muffled. Let's see, external presenters. Yes, we answered that one. Is there a limit? Right now, there's a limit of 20,000 attendees that you have inside of a live event. Now, the normal limit, I'm sorry?
I'm here, sorry.
Okay, great, I hear you now. So there's a limit of 20,000 attendees. The normal limit is 10,000. Because of remote work and things like that, Microsoft has temporarily extended that to 20,000. But if you need more than 10,000, again, you can reach out to Microsoft and get up to 100,000. There just needs to be some pre-work that's done there.
Okay, and can you go over how many people are actually for a meeting?
Right now, you can do 350 users inside of a Teams meeting.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of meetings versus live events.
Yeah.
Next question, can you call into Teams live event and listen to it?
That you technically can. However, the only call-in number that you get is a presenter dial-in. So today, just go ahead and use the link that's sent out. Because there really isn't a good way to dial into a live event without having a higher permission.
Okay. And then the last question, I'm not sure if we're able to answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. Who should be contacted for the audio conferencing option in the 12-month offer?
So you can contact us at Red River, and we can just make sure that you are qualified and go through there. We are a direct CSP at Red River. If there's already a CSP cloud solution provider, that is, that you're working with, you could reach out to them to see if they're able to help you with that. But we are able to do that as well. And actually, that actually brings up a good point. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just a little bit longer because I wanted to show something here that I actually missed after the demo. So Red River, and let me beep, 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 beep. Red River is a fast track provider with Microsoft. So what this means is we have the capability to help out organization as qualifying organizations as a benefit to you that isn't going to cost you anything. So if there are situations where you you go, oh, you know, I just want to talk to a Microsoft representative, and you're having trouble getting a hold of Microsoft, you can reach out to fast track partners like ourselves. We can listen to what you're trying to accomplish. If you're a qualifying organization, again, you have some paid licenses with Microsoft, and there's some numbers there that are relevant as well. We'll double check. We can help plan and help your team adopt various Microsoft services for no additional charge. So it's a really nice benefit that Microsoft has for its customers, and it's a kind of a nice thing for us at Red River as well to be able to talk to how many people are out there, see some of their pain points, and really drive the adoption of Microsoft services. Were there any other questions, Gary?
That was it, Brian. I really appreciate your time today. I think you went over very well over what benefits like Microsoft Teams has for live events. Again, thank you everybody for attending today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at connect@redriver.com, or I'll be sending a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar to you so you can use it for later times. And feel free to respond back to that email as well. Again, thank you, Brian, for your time, and I hope everyone has a great day and productive week. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, goodbye.